The year was 2157. Humanity had spread beyond Earth to 12 colonies across nearby star systems. These colonies were beautiful places full of hardworking people. Some mined resources from asteroids. Others grew food on terraformed planets. All of them represented the best of what humans could achieve. Captain Sarah Chen looked out the viewport of Outpost Station Epsilon. The stars shined brightly against the black of space. She had been born on Earth but had lived on the colony, World New Horizon, for 15 years. As head of colony defense, she took her job seriously. "Captain, we're picking up strange readings at the edge of our sensor range," said Lieutenant Rodriguez, her communications officer. Sarah frowned. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Multiple large objects, moving toward the colony system." Sarah's training kicked in immediately. "Alert status. Contact Earth Command and the other colonies. This could be first contact." For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. The unknown ships moved closer. They were massive, each one at least 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battleship. Their hulls were dark purple with glowing blue lines running across them. There were 20 of them. "They're not responding to our greeting messages," Rodriguez said, his voice tight with worry. Sarah ordered, "Keep trying all frequencies. Use the first contact protocols." Hours passed with no response. The alien ships took position around 3 of the outermost colonies: New Horizon, Titan's Forge, and Proxima Haven. Admiral James Wilson, the highest commander of Earth's space forces, appeared on the main screen. His face was serious. "Captain Chen, we're monitoring the situation. Continue attempts at peaceful contact, but be ready for anything." Sarah nodded. "Yes, Admiral." Then everything changed in an instant. The alien ships opened fire. Not warning. Shots. Not targeted military strikes. They bombarded the colonies with weapons that tore through planetary shields like they were paper. Cities were destroyed in seconds. Orbital stations exploded. Sarah watched in horror as her home for 15 years burned. Billions of lives, gone in minutes. "They're broadcasting something," Rodriguez shouted over the alarms. A voice, strangely, flat and translated by computers, filled the command center. "Primitive species will make way for the deserving. The Viridian Collective claims these systems." Sarah's outpost was far enough away to avoid the first attack. She knew they had little time. "Get me Admiral Wilson. Now," she ordered. When the Admiral appeared again, his face was pale but determined. "Captain Chen, you're one of the few command officers still alive. The Viridians hit 3 colonies simultaneously. No survivors reported." "What are our orders, sir?" The Admiral took a deep breath. "I'm activating Protocol Dragon's Fire." Sarah felt her blood run cold. Every command officer had been briefed on Dragon's Fire, but it was considered the absolute last resort. Most thought it was just a myth, a story to make enemies think twice about attacking humans. "Sir, are you certain?" "The President has authorized it. The attack was unprovoked genocide. We have no choice." The screen split to show President Omar Legazpi. His usually calm face was filled with sorrow and rage. "Captain Chen, return to Earth immediately. Your clearance has been upgraded to Dragon Handler level." 24 hours later, Sarah stood in a massive underground facility below the Mariana Trench on Earth. She had never known this place existed. Admiral Wilson and a team of scientists led her through security checkpoints until they reached a huge circular room. "Welcome to the Dragon's Nest," Wilson said. "Established after the last war before we ventured to the stars. Insurance in case humanity ever faced extinction." The room contained hundreds of suspension pods arranged in circles. Each pod was connected to life support systems and covered in warning symbols. "What exactly are dragons, sir?" Sarah asked. Though she was beginning to understand, Dr. Amara Singh, the lead scientist, explained. "When humans first developed genetic engineering, we created soldiers enhanced beyond normal human limits. They were called dragons because, like the mythical creatures, they were powerful, intelligent, and terrifying to our enemies. After the last war, the world governments agreed they were too dangerous to keep active in society. but too valuable to destroy. So they've been here sleeping all this time? Sarah asked. For over a century, Admiral Wilson nodded, waiting for the day humanity would need them most. That day has come. Dr. Singh moved to a control panel. The first team is ready to awaken. They were the best, the Dragon Prime Squad. Sarah watched as the first pod hissed open, revealing a man who appeared to be in his 30s. He had pale skin, sharp features, and when his eyes opened, they glowed slightly with a golden light. He sat up smoothly, showing no signs of weakness, despite decades in suspension. Commander Alexei Volkov, Admiral Wilson said. Welcome back to the world of the waking. The man looked around, assessing the situation in seconds. We've been activated. That means humanity is facing extinction-level threat. His voice was deep and calm, stating facts rather than asking questions. Yes, Commander, an alien species has destroyed 3 of our colonies. Billions dead. We call them the Viridian Collective. Volkov nodded once. How many of my dragons are you waking? All of them, President Legazpi said as he entered the room. We're at war, Commander Volkov. An enemy we've never encountered before has decided humans are unworthy of existence. They expect us to surrender. A slight smile appeared on Volkov's face. It wasn't a pleasant expression. They don't know humans very well, do they? As more pods opened around them, Sarah saw men and women with the same focused intensity as Volkov. Each moved with perfect control. Each assessed the room instantly, upon waking. They didn't seem frightened or confused. They seemed ready. Captain Chen will be your primary liaison with current military command, the Admiral explained. She witnessed the attack firsthand. Volkov turned his golden eyes to Sarah. Tell me everything, Captain. Leave nothing out. As Sarah briefed him, more dragons gathered around. By the time she finished explaining what the Viridians had done, over 50 enhanced soldiers stood listening. Their faces showed no shock, only calculation. They expect us to cower, Volkov said when she finished. They think they're hunting sheep. They don't realize they just woke the wolves. He turned to his fellow dragons. Prep for immediate deployment. We need intelligence on enemy capabilities. President Legazpi spoke up. Your primary mission is to gather information and prepare for a counterattack. We need to know what we're facing before we commit to full-scale war. Volkov nodded. Understood, Mr. President. But the Viridians have already made one critical mistake. What's that, Commander? Sarah asked. They attacked humans, Volkov said simply. And if there's one thing humans have proven throughout history, it's that we're at our most dangerous when cornered. As the dragons prepared for their first mission, Sarah couldn't help but feel both hope and fear. Hope that humanity might survive. Fear of what they might become in order to do so. The dragons were awake, and the galaxy was about to learn why that should terrify them. The Viridian fleet moved with confidence toward the remaining human colonies. Their warships were arranged in a perfect formation that showed years of military experience. Inside the lead ship, Fleet Commander Zavrek studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. The human response is just as we predicted, he told his officers. Disorganized, fearful. They scatter like prey animals. What the Viridian commander didn't know was that the seemingly random movements of human ships were actually part of a plan, and that plan involved the dragons. In a stealth shuttle specially designed to avoid detection, Commander Alexei Volkov and 4 other dragons approached the Viridian command ship. Unlike regular human ships, their shuttle had no heat signature and was coated with materials that absorbed sensor scans. Remember the mission, Volkov told his team. We need intelligence on their capabilities, command structure, and weaknesses. No unnecessary engagement. The team consisted of the best infiltration specialists among the dragons. Lieutenant Maya Chen, an expert in alien technology, Sergeant Dmitry Volkov, Alexei's brother and weapons specialist, Lieutenant Jackson Reed, communications expert, and Captain Nadia Petrova, their medical officer and biologist. Approaching the command ship now, Maya said quietly. Their maintenance cycle is beginning. Outer hull panels are opening. The shuttle slipped silently into one of the maintenance bays. As soon as they landed, the dragons moved into action. They wore special suits that enhanced their already impressive abilities. The suits could change color to match their surroundings and contained oxygen enough for 6 hours in vacuum. Atmosphere is breathable but high in nitrogen, Nadia reported, after scanning the air. They keep it warm, around 30 degrees Celsius. The dragons moved through the ship like shadows. Their enhanced reflexes and strength made them almost impossibly fast. When they encountered Viridian crew members, they disabled them silently and hid the bodies. Back on Earth, Admiral Wilson and Captain Sarah Chen monitored what little communication they could receive from the Dragon's mission. "I still can't believe what I'm seeing," Sarah said, watching the tactical display. The Dragons were moving through the enemy ship at speeds that seemed impossible. "This is why they were created," Wilson replied. "In the last war, when nations fought nations, the Dragons could end conflicts in days that would have taken armies months. And that's why they were put into stasis? Because they were too effective?" Wilson nodded grimly. "That, and because some of them began to question why they should follow orders from normal humans at all. On the Viridian ship, the Dragons had reached the central computer core. Maya connected specialized devices to the alien technology. Their security is advanced but not designed to stop our methods," she reported. "I'm downloading their tactical database now." Dmitri and Jackson stood guard, while Nadia collected biological samples from the unconscious Viridians. Alexei studied the ship's layout on a holographic display from his wrist computer. "We have 15 minutes before their security protocols detect our intrusion," he said. "Maya, focus on their communication systems. We need to understand how they coordinate their fleet." As Maya worked, she made a surprising discovery. "Commander, they're telepathic. Their communication technology amplifies natural telepathic abilities. That's how they coordinate so perfectly." Alexei processed this information quickly. "Can we disrupt it?" "Yes. Their telepathy operates on specific electromagnetic frequencies. If we could generate a counter-frequency..." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. "We've been detected," Dmitri warned, raising his weapon. "Change of plans," Alexei decided immediately. "Maya, finish the download. Jackson, plant the disruptor device." "Nadia, do you have enough samples?" She nodded. "Enough to start developing countermeasures against their biology." 4 Viridian soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor. They were tall, with grayish-purple skin and 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. They fired energy weapons that left scorch marks on the walls. Dmitri moved with blinding speed, dodging the energy blasts and closing the distance. The Viridians were strong, but they had never faced anything like a dragon. Dmitri disarmed one soldier and used his weapon against the others. "Download complete," Maya called out. "Disruptor planted," Jackson confirmed. Alexei nodded. "Extraction route B. Move." The Dragons fought their way back to the shuttle, moving faster than the Viridian security forces could respond. Along the way, Jackson accessed a terminal and left a message in the Viridian computer system. "Dragons are coming. Run." As they escaped in their shuttle, the Dragons could see the Viridian fleet beginning to move into attack formation. "Their next target is the Arcturus colony," Maya said, reviewing the data they had stolen. "They plan to attack in 12 hours. "We won't let that happen," Alexei said firmly. "Send all data to Earth Command immediately." When they returned to Earth, Admiral Wilson and President Legaspi were waiting for them. The intelligence the Dragons had gathered was invaluable. "Their telepathic command network is their greatest strength but also their greatest weakness," Maya explained during the debriefing. "If we can disrupt the frequencies they use, we can throw their entire fleet into chaos." "Can we develop such technology in time?" President Legaspi asked. "We already have the basics," Admiral Wilson said. "The Dragon's mission gave us exactly what we needed." Alexei stepped forward. "There's something else you should know, Mr. President. The Viridians have conquered 17 other species before targeting humans. Each time, they follow the same pattern. They destroy several population centers, wait for surrender, then occupy and eventually absorb the survivors into their collective. But they've never faced humans before. Sarah Chen added. And they certainly haven't faced dragons. Over the next few hours, a plan took shape. Unlike the Viridians, who relied on rigid hierarchies in central command, humans had always excelled at adapting and fighting from disadvantaged positions. We'll hit them where they don't expect, Admiral Wilson explained to the military leadership. Not with a direct assault, but by targeting their command and control systems. Evacuation ships were already moving civilians from the most vulnerable colonies, but not in surrender. They were repositioning for counterattack. Every civilian ship capable of carrying weapons was being modified. Every retired military officer was recalled to service. As dawn broke over Earth the next day, more Dragon pods were opened. 200 of the enhanced soldiers now stood ready for combat. Alexei addressed his fellow Dragons. The enemy thinks they understand humans. They think they know what to expect. They are wrong. His golden eyes scanned the faces of his teammates. Today we show them why humans survived on a planet full of predators. Today we show them why dragons are feared. The first human counterattack was about to begin, and the Viridians had no idea what was coming for them. Arcturus colony was preparing for the worst. The Viridian fleet was only hours away, and despite the evacuation efforts, millions of colonists remained. They had built defenses based on the dragon's intelligence, but everyone knew they couldn't stop the full might of the Viridian collective. What they didn't know was that stopping the attack wasn't the plan. Admiral Wilson stood in the Earth Command Center, watching as hundreds of small dots moved across the tactical display. Each dot represented a ship, not large battleships but smaller, faster vessels, fighter craft piloted by dragons, supply ships converted to carry weapons, mining vessels now equipped with drill lasers meant for asteroids but deadly against ship hulls. The Viridians expect us to defend, Wilson explained to President Legaspi. They don't expect us to attack from all directions at once. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen was leading a special team of 15 dragons toward the Viridian flagship. Their mission was critical to the entire counterattack. Remember, timing is everything, she told her team. We need to deploy the disruptors at exactly the right moment, when the rest of our forces engage. Maya's team had trained for this mission for 3 days straight. Each carried a specialized device designed to interfere with the Viridians' telepathic communication network. These devices, called screamers, broadcast electromagnetic noise on the exact frequencies the Viridians used to coordinate their fleet. As the Viridian fleet approached Arcturus colony, they moved in their standard attack formation. 3 large battleships in front, supported by dozens of smaller vessels. Their sensors showed the human defenses, predictable and weak, just as they expected. Fleet Commander Zavrek felt confident. Begin the attack sequence. Target their defense. Platforms first, then their population centers. Just as the Viridian weapons powered up, alarms sounded throughout the fleet. Multiple contacts approaching from all vectors. A Viridian officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. Hundreds of human ships appeared seemingly from nowhere. They had been hiding behind moons, asteroids, and in the sensor shadows of gas giants. Instead of defending, the human forces attacked from all sides at once. At that same moment, Maya's team breached the hull of the Viridian flagship. They moved with precision through the corridors, eliminating any resistance they encountered. When they reached key points throughout the ship, they planted their screamers and activated them simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Viridian command network collapsed. Without their telepathic communication, ship captains could not coordinate. Orders became confused. Some ships fired on friendly vessels in the chaos. Back on the human side, Commander Alexei Volkov led the main attack force. He piloted his fighter with impossible skill, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to perform maneuvers that would kill a normal human pilot. All dragons engage primary targets, he ordered. Regular forces focus on their support ships. The battle unfolded exactly as the humans had planned. While the Viridians struggled to communicate, the human forces struck with precision. Dragons targeted the weapon systems of the larger ships, while converted mining vessels drilled through the hulls of smaller craft. Captain Sarah Chen commanded one of the converted civilian ships. Her crew was a mix of military personnel and colony volunteers. "Hold steady," she told her nervous crew. "The dragons are drawing their fire. Our job is to hit them where they're vulnerable." Her ship approached a Viridian cruiser that was already under attack by 3 dragon fighters. While the cruiser's weapons tracked the faster dragons, Sarah's ship moved underneath and fired mining charges against the hull. The explosions tore open the Viridian ship's underside. On the Viridian flagship, Maya's team fought their way to the bridge. The screamers were working. Viridian officers couldn't coordinate their defense. Maya herself led the final assault on the command center. The Viridian fleet commander Zavrek watched in disbelief as a small female human, moving faster than should be possible, disarmed his guards with ease. Before he could react, she stood before him, golden eyes glowing. "This is for New Horizon," she said coldly. Instead of killing him, however, she planted a screamer device directly on the command console. "Your communication network is now under our control. Order your fleet to withdraw, or we'll make sure none of you can ever communicate again." For the first time in his long career, Zavrek felt fear. These humans were not like any species the collective had encountered before. And these enhanced ones, these dragons, they fought with a ferocity and skill that seemed impossible. After receiving Zavrek's surrender order, the Viridian fleet began to retreat. It was not a complete victory. Many human ships had been destroyed, and parts of Arcturus colony had been damaged in the battle, but for the first time, the Viridian collective had been defeated. As the human forces regrouped, Admiral Wilson addressed all ships. "Today we showed the enemy that humans do not surrender. Today we showed them that attacking our colonies was their greatest mistake." The dragons returned to Earth for debriefing. In the command center, Maya presented her team's additional findings from the Viridian flagship. "They've conquered 17 other species before us," she explained, displaying alien star charts, each time following the same pattern. "But they've never retreated before, never lost a major engagement." President Legaspi looked troubled. "Will they return with reinforcements?" "Almost certainly," Alexei answered. "But now we have the advantage of knowing how they think, how they fight. And they still don't understand what they're facing." Admiral Wilson nodded. "We've bloodied their nose, but the real war is just beginning. The Viridians will report to their high command. They'll analyze what went wrong. They'll return with a new strategy. And we'll be ready," Sarah Chen said confidently. "We should press our advantage. Take the fight to them instead of waiting." The military leadership debated the next steps. Some argued for strengthening defenses. Others, like Sarah, wanted to take the offensive. The dragons, led by Alexei, proposed a third option. "We hit their leadership," Alexei suggested. "The Viridians rely on central authority. Cut off the head, and the body will struggle." The plan that emerged was bold, perhaps too bold, but after seeing what the dragons could do, even the most cautious advisors had to admit it might work. As preparations began for the next phase of the war, Maya approached Alexei privately. "I found something strange in their database," she told him. "References to something called the Forgers. The Viridians seemed particularly interested in our genetic code." Alexei frowned. "What does it mean?" "I don't know yet," Maya admitted. "But I think there's more to this war than simple conquest. The Viridians attacked us specifically, out of all possible targets. I think they wanted to see how we would respond." "Then, they got more than they bargained for," Alexei said grimly. "And the next time we meet, they'll learn why dragons don't just defend their territory. They hunt those who threaten it." The Viridian retreat was only temporary. 2 weeks after their defeat at Arcturus colony, they returned with 3 times as many ships. The Viridian High Command had sent reinforcements from the core worlds of their empire, along with their most experienced commanders. This time, they took no chances. They bypassed the heavily defended colonies and aimed directly at the less protected outposts and research stations. Their strategy was clear: strike fear into the humans, force them to spread their defenses too thin. On Research Station Omega, Dr. Karen Nasser was studying the biological samples taken from the Viridians when the alarm sounded. The station's sensors detected 5 Viridian warships approaching fast. All personnel, evacuate immediately, the station's AI announced. This is not a drill. Karen grabbed her data drives and ran for the escape pods. She had just reached the launch bay when the first Viridian weapons hit the station. The walls shook and emergency lights flashed. "Launch all pods now," ordered the station commander. Karen's pod ejected just as a massive explosion tore through the research station. Looking back through the small viewport, she watched in horror as the station broke apart, debris scattering across space. Similar attacks happened across human space. 2 more colonies fell before defensive measures could be implemented. The Viridians used planet-killer weapons, massive gravitational devices that created destructive tidal forces on planetary surfaces. Admiral Wilson called an emergency meeting with President Legazpi and the Dragon commanders. "The Viridians are escalating," he reported grimly. "They've abandoned their standard conquest approach. Now they're simply destroying anything they can reach." "They're afraid," Commander Alexei Volkov said. His golden eyes were hard as he studied the tactical displays. "They lost once and now they fear looking weak in front of the other species they've conquered." "How do we respond to this level of force?" President Legazpi asked. The room fell, silent for a moment. Then Admiral Wilson pressed a button and a holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed designs for weapon systems unlike anything most people in the room had seen. "These are classified technologies. We've developed but never deployed," Wilson explained. "Singularity bombs that create miniature black holes, nanite swarms that can target specific genetic markers, jump drives that allow ships to appear inside enemy formations." Several military advisors looked uncomfortable. "These weapons violate the Sol Accords," one general pointed out. "The Viridians violated those accords first when they used planet killers," Sarah Chen countered. She had been promoted to admiral after her actions at Arcturus. "We're fighting for our survival now." President Legazpi looked at each person in the room before speaking. "I authorize the deployment of all necessary weapon systems. The Viridians must understand that attacking humanity was their greatest mistake." The new human strategy wasn't just about weapons, but about psychological warfare. The dragons would be at the center of it. The Viridians fear what they don't understand, Alexei explained to his fellow dragons. "And they don't understand us at all." 5 days later, the first phase of the counterattack began. A fleet of human ships equipped with the new jump drives appeared without warning in the middle of a Viridian supply convoy. The battle was short and one-sided. No Viridian ship survived to report what had happened. Next, a team of dragons led by Alexei himself infiltrated a Viridian colony world. They didn't attack civilian targets, but planted singularity bombs in military installations across the planet. When the bombs detonated, they created tiny, short-lived black holes that pulled apart Viridian defense systems before collapsing. The message left behind was simple: retreat or face extinction. The Viridian High Command, for the first time in their history, experienced genuine fear. They had conquered 17 species before humans, and none had fought back with such effectiveness. More concerning, none had possessed weapons of the kind humans now deployed. In a bold move that shocked even some of the human leadership, Maya Chen proposed a direct strike on the Viridian homeworld itself. Not to destroy it, she emphasized during the planning session, but to capture their ruling council, to show them we could have destroyed them but chose not to. It was the most dangerous mission yet attempted. 20 dragons, led by Alexei, and Maya would use a ship equipped with the experimental jump drive to appear directly in orbit around the Viridian homeworld. From there, they would drop to the surface using stealth pods, infiltrate the council chambers, and extract the ruling council members. The odds of success were low. The odds of survival, even lower. "This is a suicide mission," Sarah argued when she heard the plan. "Maybe," Alexei admitted, "but if we succeed, we end this war without further bloodshed. And if you fail, then make sure the Viridians pay for it," he said simply. The mission was approved. The 20 dragons prepared in silence, each understanding they might not return. Among them was Dmitri, Alexei's brother. "I still remember the day they told us we would be put into stasis," Dmitri said as they checked their equipment. "They feared us, our own creators." "And now they need us," Alexei replied. "Do you ever wonder if we're just weapons to them, to be used and then put away again when the danger passes?" Alexei considered this. "Perhaps, but right now we're humanity's best hope. That's enough for me." The jump to the Viridian homeworld went perfectly. Their ship appeared from nowhere, cloaking systems active. Before Viridian defenses could respond, 20 stealth pods launched toward the surface. The infiltration began well. The dragons moved through the Viridian capital like ghosts, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols. But as they approached the council chambers, something went wrong. Alarms sounded throughout the city. "We've been detected," Maya reported. "Security forces converging on our position." "Proceed with the mission," Alexei ordered. "We may not get another chance." The dragons fought their way into the council chambers, facing waves of Viridian elite guards. 10 dragons fell in the brutal fighting, but they reached their objective. The 7 members of the Viridian High Council watched in terror as the golden-eyed humans entered their sacred chambers. "You will come with us," Alexei told them. "Your fleet will stand down, or your leadership ends today." The extraction was bloody. Only half the dragon team survived to reach the extraction point, including Alexei and Maya. But they achieved their objective. The Viridian High Council was captured and transported back to Earth. Admiral Sarah Chen was waiting when the battered ship returned. Her expression changed from relief to sorrow when she saw how few dragons returned. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. Alexei, wounded but still standing, gestured to the captured council members. "Ask me after they surrender." The war had reached its turning point. The Viridian leadership now faced humanity directly, and the negotiations that would follow would determine the fate of both species. The captured Viridian council members were held in a secure facility beneath the United Earth Government headquarters. Unlike human prisoners, they were provided with environments suited to their biology: warmer temperatures, higher nitrogen levels, and foods compatible with their digestive systems. President Legaspi personally led the first negotiation session, with Admiral Wilson, Sarah Chen, and Commander Alexei Volkov present. Maya Chen monitored from another room, analyzing the Viridians' responses. "Why did you attack our colonies without provocation?" President Legaspi asked the lead counselor, who had identified himself as Elder Malrek. The Viridians' 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of discomfort that Maya had noted in her research. "You misunderstand," he said through the translation. "Device." The attack was not unprovoked, it was preventative. This answer surprised everyone in the room. "Preventative against what?" Sarah demanded. "We had never even encountered your species before." Elder Malrek looked at Alexei, his eyes focusing on the dragon's golden irises. "Against them, against what they represent." Alexei stepped forward. "Explain." The Viridian counselor seemed to gather his thoughts before speaking. "Our oldest records speak of a time when our galaxy was nearly destroyed. A species called the Forgers created weapons of living flesh, weapons that could think, adapt, and eventually turned against all life." He pointed at Alexei. "Your enhanced soldiers bear the genetic markers of those ancient weapons. When our scouts first observed your world and detected those markers, the High Council voted for immediate action." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Maya entered from the monitoring room, her face pale. "He's telling the truth, at least as he believes it," she said. "I've been analyzing the data we took from their ships. Their ancient records contain references to a species that nearly wiped out all intelligent life in the galaxy, before suddenly disappearing around 50,000 years ago." President Legaspi looked troubled. "Are you saying our dragons are somehow connected to these ancient weapons?" "We don't know that," Admiral Wilson said firmly. "The dragons were developed by human scientists, using human genetic material." Alexei had remained silent, his expression unreadable. Now he spoke. What if we weren't? What if the genetic templates were found, not created? Everyone turned to look at him. The official history says we were developed during the last war, Alexei continued. But I have memories, fragments only, of scientists talking about the discovery and the template. Maya nodded slowly. It would explain certain anomalies in dragon genetics that have always puzzled me. Our enhancements aren't just modifications of normal human genes. Some sequences have no known origin in human DNA. President Legazpi ordered an immediate investigation. Archaeological teams were sent to the oldest known human sites on Earth, looking for evidence that might support or disprove the Viridian claim. Meanwhile, the war entered an uneasy pause. With their leadership captured, the Viridian fleet had withdrawn to defensive positions. Diplomatic channels opened between the two species for the first time. 3 days later, Dr. Karen Nasser, who had survived the attack on Research Station Omega, reported a breakthrough. She had been studying both Viridian biology and dragon genetics. There are matching markers, she explained to the assembled leadership. Not just between dragons and these ancient forgers, but in all human DNA. Portions we've always called junk DNA, because they seem to have no purpose. They match fragments, found in ruins across the galaxy. The archaeological teams confirmed her findings. At a dig site in East Africa, they uncovered technology far older than human civilization, and it contained genetic sequences identical to those found in the dragons. What does this mean? Sarah asked, looking from Alexei to the scientists. That humans didn't evolve naturally on Earth? Not exactly, Karen clarified. Most of human evolution appears natural, but something intervened. Added specific sequences to our genetic code perhaps 100,000 years ago when modern humans first appeared. Elder Mal Rek, who had been allowed to join the discussion, spoke up. The forgers seeded many worlds before they vanished. Most species they modified never developed the specific traits they were looking for, but it appears humans did. And what traits were those? Alexei asked quietly. The ability to adapt rapidly, to survive against all odds, to fight beyond all reasonable limits. The Viridian looked at Alexei. To become dragons. The implications were staggering. If the Viridians were right, the dragons weren't just weapons, created for a human war. They were the culmination of genetic programming tens of thousands of years in the making. As this revelation spread among the dragons, reactions varied. Some, like Dmitri, were angry, feeling they had been manipulated across millennia. Others, like Maya, were fascinated by the scientific implications. Alexei found Sarah alone in the observation room, looking out at the night sky. Does it change anything? She asked without turning. Knowing that you might have been planned by some ancient species? Alexei stood beside her. We still made our own choices. We still fought to protect humanity. And what happens when this war ends? Sarah asked. Before, the plan was to put the dragons back into stasis. But if you're not just weapons, then perhaps it's time for humans to see us as something more, Alexei finished. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Long-range sensors had detected something massive entering the solar system, ships larger than anything seen before. Their design neither human nor Viridian. The Viridian counselors reacted with panic when told the news. They have returned, Elder Malrek whispered. The forgers have come to claim their creations. Ancient defense systems across multiple worlds suddenly activated. On Mars, a facility buried beneath the surface for millennia began broadcasting. A signal that matched the genetic code found in the dragons. They weren't just waiting for us to develop the right traits, Maya realized. They were waiting for us to face a threat significant enough to awaken the dragons. The war with the Viridians was the trigger. As the massive ships approached Earth, humanity and the Viridians faced a choice. Continue fighting each other or unite against this new ancient threat. The dragons stood at the center of this decision, their very existence now revealed to be part of a plan set in motion before human civilization began. Whatever we are, whatever we were meant to be, Alexei told his fellow dragons, we decide our purpose now. Not some ancient engineers, Not the humans who awakened us, and certainly not these forgers. The final confrontation was about to begin, and it would determine not just the fate of humans and Viridians, but perhaps all life in the galaxy. The massive ships of the forgers entered the solar system with impossible speed. There were 5 of them, each the size of a small moon. Their surfaces were smooth black metal with pulsing blue lines that reminded many of the markings on Viridian. Ships only far more complex. Earth's combined military forces prepared for the worst. Even with the advanced weapons they had used against the Viridians, they knew they stood little chance against technology so far beyond their understanding. In orbit around Mars, the ancient facility continued broadcasting its signal. The message was simple, a repeating genetic sequence that matched exactly what was found in dragon DNA. "They're calling us home," Maya Chen said quietly. She stood with Alexei, Dmitri, and the 100 dragons who had survived the war so far. "This isn't our home," Dmitri argued. "Earth is. Humanity is. Whatever these forgers intended, we decide who we are now." President Legazpi had ordered all remaining forces to defensive positions around Earth. The Viridian prisoners had been offered a choice: help defend against the forgers, or remain in custody. To everyone's surprise, Elder Malrek requested to join the Defense Council. "We have monitored signs of the forgers' return for centuries," he explained. "Our attacks on other species were partly to prepare for this day, to identify and eliminate potential weapons the forgers might use. And instead you woke us up," Sarah Chen observed. "Exactly what you were trying to prevent." The lead forger ship established orbit around Mars, while the others positioned themselves at key points throughout the solar system. Then, a message was broadcast on all frequencies in perfect human language. "Genetic sequence verification complete. The Vanguard has awakened. Prepare for integration." A smaller vessel detached from the lead ship and headed toward Earth. It was sleek and fast, easily evading the defensive grid. It landed directly outside the United Earth Government headquarters, where the dragons had gathered. The door to the vessel opened, and a figure emerged. It looked almost human, but taller, with skin that seemed to shift colors slightly with each movement. Its eyes were like the dragons, golden, but with an inner light that seemed ancient. "I am Sentinel," it announced in a voice that sounded both male and female. "I speak for the forgers. We have returned as planned, at the awakening of the Vanguard." Alexei stepped forward. "If by Vanguard you mean us, the dragons, we have questions before any integration happens." Sentinel tilted its head, studying Alexei with interest. "Unexpected. Response patterns. Individual identity assertion stronger than projected. Fascinating." President Legazpi joined Alexei. "These people are citizens of Earth, under our protection. We want to understand your intentions." "Your protection?" Sentinel seemed amused. "The Vanguard was seated on this world long before your civilization arose. They are not yours to protect. They are tools created for a specific purpose." "What purpose?" Alexei demanded. "To fight the Devourers," Sentinel replied simply. "The enemy that nearly destroyed all sentient life in this galaxy before the forgers intervened. They will return soon and the Vanguard must be in position." Maya stepped forward. "So you modified early humans, left dormant genetic code that would eventually produce the dragons just to use us as weapons in your war?" "You were designed to be perfect warriors," Sentinel confirmed. "Your enhanced strength, reflexes, intelligence, all carefully crafted over thousands of generations. This conflict with the Viridians was an excellent final test of your capabilities." This revelation sent shockwaves through everyone present. The Viridian attack hadn't been a coincidence. It had been part of the forgers' plan all along. "You manipulated the Viridians into attacking us," Alexei realized, "to force humans to awaken the dragons." Sentinel nodded. "The timing was critical. The Devourers will return within one of your Earth years. The Vanguard needed combat experience. Against a worthy opponent." Elder Malrek stepped forward, his 4 hands trembling with rage. "You sacrificed billions of lives across multiple species for a test?" "Necessary sacrifices," Sentinel said dismissively. The Devourers would have consumed all life in this galaxy. Billions lost now to save trillions later. Alexei looked at his fellow dragons, then at the humans and Viridians who had fought each other so bitterly just days before. He made a decision. We refuse, he said clearly. Sentinel blinked, genuinely surprised. Refuse? You cannot refuse your purpose. You were created for this. We may have been created by you, Alexei replied, but we choose our own path now. We will defend this galaxy against these Devourers, yes, but not as your tools. As free beings, making our own choices. Impossible, Sentinel said. The genetic programming cannot be overcome. You will comply. It raised a hand, and a wave of energy pulsed outward. The dragons felt it, a pull in their minds, an irresistible command to obey. But something unexpected happened. The human part of them, the part that had evolved naturally on Earth, fought back against the artificial commands. Maya was the first to break free. You didn't count on one thing, she said through gritted teeth. Humans are stubborn, we don't follow orders well, and that trait is as much a part of us as your engineered sequences. One by one, the dragons resisted the control. Even as they fought this internal battle, Sentinel signaled its ship. More forgers emerged, carrying weapons. If you will not comply willingly, we will reset your neural patterns, Sentinel announced. The mission takes priority over individual autonomy. What followed was a battle unlike any in human history. The dragons fought against the forgers, not just physically, but mentally, constantly pushing back against the genetic commands being broadcast from the forger ships. Alexei led a desperate plan. If the forgers could use their DNA as a key, perhaps it could work both ways. Maya and a team of scientists worked frantically to create a virus that could interface with forger technology through dragon DNA. It's a backdoor into their systems, Maya explained. They left markers in our genetic code to control us, but those same markers might let us access their technology. The plan was dangerous. It required dragons to allow themselves to be captured by the forgers, then transmit the virus into the enemy's biological computers. Alexei volunteered to lead the mission. I was created for this, he told Sarah before departing. Not in the way they intended, but to protect humanity, to protect all life. The mission succeeded, but at tremendous cost. The virus spread through the forger ships, shutting down their systems and neutralizing their weapons. But of the 20 dragons who undertook the mission, only 3 returned. Alexei was not among them. In the aftermath, the remaining forgers were contained. Sentinel was captured and forced to reveal the truth about the coming Devourers, information that would help prepare the galaxy for the real threat. The war ended with humanity forever changed. The surviving dragons became the cornerstone of a new interstellar defense force with humans and Viridians working together to rebuild and prepare. The stars, once a place of wonder and then terror, now represented a future where humanity's greatest strength, its ability to adapt, to fight beyond all reasonable limits, and ultimately to forge alliances from enmity, would ensure its survival. On Earth, a memorial was built. It showed a dragon and a Viridian standing side by side, with Alexei's final transmission carved below. We were made as weapons, but we choose to be guardians. This is the true meaning of humanity.